So this is Matt, and this is going to be a real quick demo of the PowerPoint presentation that accompanies the animation video that I also have up on this channel as well. Now, this was a senior project, part of the senior project, and in addition to making the animation video, I also went ahead and designed this PowerPoint. It's actually an interactive PowerPoint presentation. Makes this entire piece work just very similar to a web page. And this presentation actually is on display at the Visitor Center at the Piedras Blancas light station, and it's a giant touch screen. So everything that you see me do is actually able for the visitors and for the docents to come in and just manually touch all the different buttons that they want, and it navigates very easily. It's very self-explanatory. Let's go ahead and get right to it. This is the opening page of the light station and the home page of the PowerPoint. And as you can see, there are 4 individual components. Each of these little things is actually a button. So you can go through the history, go through some photos, then there's the videos and the animations that I made, and then finally this is a lot of the technical documents. So if we go through, we'll go ahead and we'll start up on history. We'll go ahead and click on the history button. And as you can see, it goes through and slides right over to a little timeline that goes through basically just a real basic simple history of the Piedras Blancas light station and the lens. Now down here you'll notice I have a little arrow right here and a little button right here. This is a home button. This will take you anywhere, like from wherever you are in the presentation, back home. I'll show you that here in just a sec. And here's a little arrow that shows that you can move forward or backwards. So if I click here, I move forward in the timeline. I can also move backwards, but normally you just move forward. Move forward again. You can take a look at these and read these here a little bit. But anyways, this brings you all the way up to the present, and it's just a simple little timeline, gives you a history of the PBLS. Let's go back home. This is the home button, and it brings you right back to the main station. So let's move on now to some photos. This is just some photos that you can take a look at. This is just a list of all these different little photos that you can take a look at for the docents and everything. So if I were to click here, go ahead and take a look. This is a big old picture of the real thing, and then over here is my attempt at getting a nice shot of a very like similarity. Down here I have 2 more arrows. I can go back in the pictures. I can go forward again. So here's another shot. Go forward again. And this is just what the visitors can do. They can, kind of cycle through all these different little pictures and whatnot. And then eventually, of course, they can go back home right here. Brings them back home. Videos and animations right here. Now I'm not going to go through each one of these because these are already up on the YouTube page. But this is the actual clockwork mechanism. This is on my favorites. My partner put this video up, and this is just him with his little phone. He took some actual footage of the real thing working. The real device is on display in Cambria, in California. Then finally you have the computer animation, which is also on the video that I have. The physical replica was a little model I made with some like little gears and mechanisms and whatnot that showed how the mechanism worked. I may make another video on that. I'm not too sure yet, but each one of these goes straight over to whatever the appropriate video is, and you've already seen all those videos, so I'm just going to go straight home back for this. And then finally, the technical documents was the last piece that we had to do for this project, where it would show all the different, in engineering documentation in proper form, all the different aspects of both the gearing, structure, as well as lens assembly. So if we were to take a look at gearing real quick here, and these are all the different types of gearing components that were responsible for this. So if someone wanted to take a look at, let's go ahead and take a look at the governor shaft. Just for instance, if we go to the governor shaft, and it shows that the governor shaft is composed of these 3 components, and when they all come together, to make this component here. So if someone wanted to take a look at, what's the primary bevel gear composed of, they click on the gear, and they can take a look at, see that the gear is a circumference of 16 inches. They wanted to get an idea. I can go back. I wanted to take a look at the governor shaft. Take a look at the governor shaft, I can get an idea. And the way these documents work, I can see, okay, this is a 12.10 or 12.1 inches down here, 12.1, so it's about a foot long. And this kind of gives visitors an idea of, oh, okay, that's how long that shaft is. Oh, I kind of saw it in the animation, or I saw it in the actual model, and oh, okay, so it's a foot long. Interesting. And it's almost 2 inches in diameter. Cool. All right. That's how those all kind of come together. If I wanted to take a look at, let's take a look at the, you know, the drum shaft. You know, this is where the giant wire was wrapped around every single time. So the drum shaft consists of these two components right here. And I can take a look at the drum shaft right here. I see the drum shaft is 8.24 inches. Very nice. And then finally these two all come together to take a look at, and I can click on this. This shows the BOM, or the bill of materials, of that component. Alright, so that's the gearing, dealing with this. And then finally we can come down here. This is the actual structure of it. I was responsible for the main structure right here. So it starts out with the base, everything else kind of moves down from there. So we're going to take a look at the base. This is pretty straightforward. You know, it's a 40.27. Everything was done in inches to keep everything in perspective. 40.27 inches. This is how this was all done. If you want to take a look at, you know, here's the chariot section. So the chariot section consisted of these three components that all came together to make this giant component right here. So if a docent or a visitor wanted to take a look at, you know, what are these weight-bearing wheels? Well, these weight-bearing wheels they're made out of solid brass. So they're 5.5 inches. They are made from brass, they're solid brass, and these are what supported the 2.5 ton lens structure that sat right above these. And then finally here is everything comes together, and there was 10 of them right here. It shows that there's 10 of these individual wheels that went all the way around. So, and then the last section that we really have to deal with is the lens assembly. And I also did this as well. Pretty straightforward. It was composed of a giant structure, or like a cage. Then it went to the rear. There's a bunch of dioptric prisms, and finally the catadioptric prisms. So these, just to kind of give you an idea, catadioptric prisms, this uses a design table, because there were 18 individual sizes that I had to vary the distance on to bring them into the drawing. So I'd come in here, as you can see, this is where they are, and if you click this, these are the 336 individual lens pieces that I manually had to bring into the drawing to make this entire thing fit together. This took me about 5 hours to do this entire piece right here, just because it was so long. But finally, it eventually did come together. Everything worked out just fine. And so let's go ahead and head on back home. And that is it. That is the entire presentation. And like I said, the visitors and docents can come in here and they can point and touch on a touch screen each of these individual things that I just clicked, and it makes everything come together very smooth, very simple. So this way visitors can get an interactive learning experience when they come to visit the Piedras Blancas light station. That's all I have for you, and I will see you guys next time.